Well, hello everyone, and welcome to day 4 of the 12 days of keto, where we have the New Year's resolution meeting the keto revolution. Folks, my name is Blake Graham, and it's an honor and privilege of being with you here. I'm coming to you all the way from Japan, and it's after midnight here, but I'm excited to be up and be sharing with you some fantastic information. Now, when we talk about these 12 days of keto, we're talking about the ketogenic diet and some of the benefits on how it can change lives. We're going to be going over a lot of research. In fact, if you look right now at pubmed.gov, there's over 2,100 articles, 2,180 articles as of January 1st, 2018, just a few days ago. And we talk about the ketogenic diet, and we're going to talk about healthy body functions, how it can help with many things. We're going to try to avoid the names of many diseases because, well, frankly, the diseases are in the realm of the FDA, and they want those to be worked with certified health professionals. So we're going to talk about the research on the ketogenic diet, not on a specific product or company. And for the diagnosis or treatment of disease, please consult with a certified health physician, preferably somebody that understands the ketogenic diet, because they're growing out there, folks. Well, we started off on the first day of keto talking about some of the benefits, results that people could see, visible results with weight loss. Day 2, we talked about blood sugar support. Day 3, we talked about the ability for the ketogenic diet to support mood, right? So a more balanced mood. And day 4 is something that's really near and dear to my heart. It's something that I actually had my own father that passed away while on a drug study, and it was a study for heart medication. And as a result, this is something that I paid attention to ever since I first got involved in the natural healing realm about 25 years ago. I started out in pre-med, but was overwhelmed by the research, and now it's my honor to share with you some of the research on day 4 about the benefits of eating fat and cholesterol. Now, again, it's like the 12 days of Christmas, the 12 days of keto, other than we're starting the beginning of the year with this because it's the keto revolution and New Year's resolutions at the same time. On the 4th day of keto, a true friend shared with me the benefits of eating fat and cholesterol, better mood enhancement, blood sugar balance, and weight loss that everyone can see. Folks, we need to understand that when we talk about the ketogenic diet, not everybody gets it first off. Many people still are under the misconception that eating fat is what makes you fat. And the research is out, folks. And today we're going to pull heavily from this one article. And this is an article here from Time Magazine where it has the cover story says, "Eat butter. Scientists labeled fat the enemy, why they were wrong." And I would love to show you these on slides, but since it's Facebook Live, I printed them up, and we're going to hold them up here so you can see. But the research shows that eating fat doesn't make us fat. In fact, Dr. Robert Lustig, a pediatrician and president of the Institute of Responsible Nutrition at the University of California in San Francisco, says the argument against fat was totally and completely flawed. The argument against fat was totally and completely flawed. Well, what was flawed about it? And the flawed thinking is eating fat makes you fat. Eating fat is dangerous. Eating cholesterol gives you high cholesterol, right? And that's harmful for your body. That was completely wrong. Here's what we found is to be the truth. And we're going to go through the research on this. But eating carbohydrates are what actually signals your body to store energy, primarily as fat. Eating fat signals your body to break down fat for energy. Eating fat signals your body to break down fat for energy. That's like for many people, it's like almost an epiphany. Eating fat signals your body to break down fat for energy. If you don't eat any fat, you're not going to have the same satiety. You're not going to get into the ketosis. We need to teach our bodies to break down fat. How do we do that? Well, one great way is to eat fat, because eating fat, your body says, oh, I got to do something with it. And it doesn't store it. It wants to break it down for energy, folks. That's exactly what we're talking about. And so this is some of the research that we're going to go over here today. Now, the research here, going back to this Time Magazine article, and for those that want a copy of this, this is actually, it is June 23rd, 2014. Cover story. Research shows eating fat doesn't make us fat. Americans were told to cut back on fat to lose weight and prevent heart disease. There's an overwhelming strong case to be made for the opposite. Now, that's Dr. David Ludwig. He's the director of obesity prevention, the director of the Obesity Prevention Center at the Boston Children's Hospital. Okay, this is an incredible gentleman with a lot of credibility that says, you know what, folks? we need to go the exact opposite. And that's what we're talking about here with the ketogenic diet. Let's go back to look at some of this. This goes back in Time Magazine, on page 31 of this article, starts to describe what it is that it does. It says the research shows that eating carbs make us fat. Refined carbohydrates like those in wheat bread, even whole wheat bread, hidden sugar, low-fat crackers, and pasta causes changes in our blood chemistry that encourage the body to store the calories as fat and intensify hunger. Right? How it works, and we're going to show you just a little bit of the chemistry behind it. When we eat for fat storage, when we eat carbs especially, insulin levels rise, and they try to take that energy and put it in the cell. Have you ever gotten sleepy after a meal? Well, what is that a sign? That's a sign that energy didn't get to your cells like it's supposed to for it to be burned off. It's like saying, okay, I'm running out of gas in my car. I'm going to go to the gas station, and after I fill up on gas, my car is going to run slower. That's exactly what's happened when we fill up on carbs especially. Our body now starts to move that into fat storage. And I think, well, wow, isn't that just lovely? I say that almost sarcastically, folks, because I know what it's like to exercise day after day after day and take a month's worth of exercise, 30 minutes of jogging a day for a month, except Sundays. And in 2 days, on one weekend, undoing that all when I had a niece that made her very first birthday cake. And, if it's really about people, sometimes the niece is more important, you think, than my diet is right now. And if she made a birthday cake, I got to try a piece, right? One piece turned into two. I was so disappointed after a whole month of jogging, and I didn't really enjoy the jogging. In 2 days to undo all of that, folks. Well, that's what happens when your body's getting really good at fat storage. What if we could shift that? And when we go to fat burning, here's the beautiful thing. Let's look at this. Fat burning, we take the fat in, and your body is going to digest that fat. And it does it without a spike in insulin. You don't need insulin for your body to take fat and turn it into ketones. It actually happens in the liver. And this is the difference. Fat storage versus fat burning. I'm going to go back to that sheet that we did before, because this is one, I hope everybody, it's like an epiphany. It's like you have a revelation, and it's like, aha, you get that aha moment, right? Eating carbohydrates signals your body to store energy primarily as fat. Eating fat signals your body to break down fat for energy. If you want to break down fat for energy, that's why we do the fat. So we've talked a little bit about eating fat, and some of the research there that's in Time Magazine there, where it says eat better. For years, scientists labeled fat the enemy. Why? They were wrong. Well, folks, one of the reasons people get very, very concerned about eating a lot of fat is they're worried about cholesterol. Doesn't cholesterol cause heart disease? And folks, this is something that unfortunately we have been misled for decades now. And when we say decades, we're probably looking since the 1960s. We have been misled as a society here because the facts are out. And I want you to take a look at this, just a look at this book by a gentleman, Dr. Stephen Sinatra, who is probably the #1 integrative cardiologist in all of America. But he is was for 9 years the chief of cardiology at Manchester Memorial Hospital. The chief of cardiology, not just a heart surgeon, but the chief of the department at the Manchester Memorial Hospital. And he became the founder of the New England Heart Center. This is a gentleman that knows his stuff. And he co-authored this book called The Great Cholesterol Myth. Now, look at what he says here. The hypothetical link between high levels of total cholesterol and heart disease has never been proven. It's a diagnosis conjured up to serve drug companies who want to sell cholesterol-lowering statin drugs. Folks, if you're a drug company, do you make money when people are healthy or when they're sick and on drugs? And in fact, they don't even have to be sick. As long as they're on drugs, you make money. So they concocted a story where, we're going to measure something that is actually essential for the body, and we're going to call it bad. We're going to take cholesterol, which your body needs. And folks, you and I will often have times where we can show that we are having a cholesterol deficiency. Well, how do you know you're having a cholesterol deficiency? Well, folks, because I wanted you to just see this, and we're going to come back to this research here in just a minute, but I just wanted you to see this whole principle here. Your brain needs cholesterol, right? Your brain needs cholesterol. So how do you tell if you have a cholesterol deficiency? Well, if you've ever walked into a room to get something, and when you get there, you couldn't remember what it was. Or you have a name and you know the name, you just can't remember it. You know, that man or that woman, or what's his name? You know what's his name? Or you have a word and you know the word, you just can't get to it. You know that thing, right? Has anybody ever said that thing? Or you know what I mean, right? You can't get to the word, you know the word. Have you ever looked your kids right in the eye and called them by the wrong name? Well, why is that? Do we not know their name? No, oftentimes we gave it to them. But why did we grab the wrong name, folks? It's cracks in the brain. It's cracks in something called a myelin sheath. And I want to show you just real briefly, and we're going to spend a little more time on this one. See here, myelin sheath. When you have good, when you have good cholesterol wrapped around your nerves, wrapped around the actually the axons, the part of the not just nerve cells but brain cells, then it protects it. When it gets damaged and frayed here, folks, that's when you're getting that thing you can't remember it. Or if you were going to say something in a conversation, you can't remember what you're going to say. I was going to do something today. I mean, how many of us have suffered from those? You know, we used to call them senior moments, and now it's like seniors in high school have plenty of them. It's not even senior citizens anymore, folks. It's a fact of life now. And one of the reasons is because we've been scared away from cholesterol. We need to help fix that. But how is it that we got led wrong in the first place? What is it that got us off of this wonderful substance that the liver makes? I mean, we need it so much that not only we're supposed to get it in our diet, but we can't get enough of it in our diet, and our liver makes it. And if you don't get any in your diet and you just rely on your liver can't make enough. And that's why we're getting not only the issues with not enough memory, right, but also with hormonal imbalances, because they're made out of cholesterol as well. We're going to talk about this. But where did we go wrong? Where as a society did we start to spend not just millions, and not tens of millions or hundreds of millions or even billions or tens of billions? We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars to try to get people away from something that our body is making because it's absolutely essential. And unfortunately, this goes out to misdirection. Do you know what misdirection is? Misdirection is what happens when you go to Las Vegas and you go to a magic show, and there's a trick going on, and they get your attention over here, and something else is going on under here. It's getting you focused on the wrong thing. Instead of looking at results in things like, well, we can say heart disease or heart attacks, we started to look at something called cholesterol. And cholesterol became the measurement that we were worried about. But this was all based on false data. Now, this is one that there was a doctor, and it was a doctor. It's very interesting because he wasn't even an MD. He was a PhD, and he was like a marine biologist. And he was studying eels, but he was kind of assigned the task to try to come up with a way to sell cholesterol-lowering drugs. And so this Dr. Ansel Keys, and you can research him, Dr. Ansel Keys, according to Time magazine, and at one time when we thought, oh, cholesterol is the bad thing, he's the one that published this multiple country study, the Mediterranean. You've heard of the Mediterranean diet, but he did the study on the Mediterranean countries and said, oh, we got to stay away from cholesterol because it causes heart disease. And he was actually the person of the year, Time's Man of the Year, and was on Time's cover magazine. Let's see, back, probably at the end of the late 1960s. But you see, folks, here, just a few years ago, Time magazine reversed that. And in fact, they talked about this Dr. Keys, who passed away in 2004. And isn't it sometimes a fact of life when it comes to politics? Did you know there's politics in medicine? I'm pretty sure everybody understands that. But oftentimes, when you have everybody behind an idea, if the idea is wrong, then they wait until the person passes away before they say, oh yeah, he falsified his data. Well, that's exactly happened with Dr. Keys. And what that says in this Time magazine article, and I would hope that everybody gets a copy of this and reads it and shares it with other people, because this is just a great way to get the information out there. Now, this is at the beginning when folks, at the beginning of this ketogenic revolution, if you would, it doesn't mention even the word ketogenic, but it does talk about a low carbohydrate diet on there. But let's talk about what he said on Dr. Keys. Dr. Keys cherry-picked his data, leaving out countries like France and West Germany that had high-fat diets but low rate of heart disease. Okay, you're trying to prove that fat causes heart disease, and you have some countries that have high fat and very little heart disease. And so what do? You just exclude them. Exclude the entire country. It's not just one or two people. We're going to leave out entire countries because it didn't fit the theory, right? You've heard of Eskimos, right? And Eskimos will have cholesterol, total cholesterol score, sometimes up over 500 without having the heart disease. Oh, well, why is that? It's an anomaly. No, it's not an anomaly. That's the way it is in Mother Nature. That's the way our bodies are supposed to be, because the cholesterol doesn't cause the heart disease. In fact, if you look here, and this is something else that happens in the article, Greeks on the island of Corfu ate far less saturated fat. They ate less saturated fat, yet had much higher rates of heart disease. Well, isn't that exactly opposite of the theory? Yeah. So what did he do? 650 plus people. He picks a couple of dozen, and he does his data points on a couple dozen, ignores those, and actually even manipulates the diet. You can manipulate that, because we're going to find out here that the problem is not fat, it's bad fat. And when I say bad fat, you've heard of trans fatty acids, right? We used to think that we had to stay away from butter because it had cholesterol and go to margarine that doesn't have cholesterol. And then we find out people that eat margarine have higher rates of heart disease because of something called a trans fatty acid. It's like a fake fat, if you want to think of it that way. In fact, the molecule for margarine is actually just one little atom off of plastic. You can't put it out and even have cockroaches eat it, folks. It's not something that Mother Nature, the insects, the bugs, nobody wants that. But you and I, unfortunately, have been taught that we were supposed to eat it. Well, folks, people in the know that butter is better. And we're doing more and more resurgence of butter. But one of the things we found out is this whole thing about cholesterol. And sometimes we talk about HDL and LDL, high-density lipoproteins and low-density lipoproteins, folks. And understand, lipoprotein, actually a protein. It's not actually the cholesterol, but it carries the cholesterol. So we're just going to leave it at HDL and LDL. But we found out that LDL, which they labeled the bad cholesterol, comes in our diet all the time, and most of it is actually absolutely good. See, this is one I'm going to go back to the great cholesterol myth again by my cardiologist that was the chief of cardiology at the Manchester Memorial Hospital and who founded the New England Heart Center. But Dr. Sinatra says traditional cholesterol tests are outdated. Now, what does outdated mean? It means, like, in our day and age, instead of using a smartphone, you're still on a rotary, right? You're picking it up, and and maybe you're a little bit ahead of the time from that, and you actually have an answering machine, one of those where you have the little recorder and you have to record it. There's so many things you can't do on old technology. And when you have outdated something, what happens oftentimes is they find out that it was actually wrong. It was actually wrong and misleading. And that's what we're talking about. So total cholesterol tests, the traditional cholesterol tests that measure your HDL and your LDLs, are outdated. And he put an exclamation on that. That's not an emphasis that I added. But he says, research shows that it's the small, dense LDL cholesterol that is inflammatory and toxic to blood vessels. The small, dense one. In other words, low density lipids, it's two types. It is a small particle and a big particle. And it was the small particle that caused it. And here's the beautiful thing. This is another one that I encourage everybody to get. But when we were first learning about the ketogenic diet and starting to teach people, one of the online articles I came across was something called the 10 Proven Health Benefits of Low Carb and Ketogenic Diets. And I love this article series because it lists, and I don't know if you can see it here. They start to go through. We're going to look at point 5 and point 6. If you get this in a PDF form, you can actually click on all of those links and it'll take you right to where the study is. And it's some amazing research. But one of the things they said, if you look at point 6, low carbohydrate diets improve the pattern of LDL cholesterol. Now, again, we're not mentioning the name of the disease. It's supporting the body's natural ability to have balanced cholesterol. But it's not just HDL and LDL. We're going to look at the LDL itself and go for the small particle versus the large particle. And let's look at, you can see here, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sources that they quote. So again, get a copy of this and get an online PDF. But the bottom line, when you eat a low carbohydrate diet, your LDL particles change from small bad LDL to large LDL, which is benign. Benign meaning it's good, right? It doesn't harm you. Cutting carbs may also reduce the number of LDL particles floating around in the bloodstream. Folks, there's some amazing research here, and you need to have a copy of this yourself. You need to be empowered, because even in Time magazine, They mentioned it there. Right now, we have been taught for so long something, and a lie told often enough starts to sound like the truth. We've been taught that cholesterol is bad for so long that so many people still believe it. I can still find articles that are quoting this, and somebody's giving their opinion of this, but the data does not support it. And that's why there's been a complete about face. And all of those doctors that I'm familiar with in natural healing, those that actually pay attention to results over drug sales, right? When it's people over profits, those doctors are all saying they don't recommend statin drugs. They want you off of statin drugs. And there's a reason, because statin drugs poison the liver, and there's a lot of side effects from it. Folks, we're not going to leave that up to the health professionals, but I do want you to be informed, to be educated, and to help us educate other people, because that's what it's all about. If we're going to make a difference in this, we have to have educated consumers. We have to have people that sometimes have the courage, if you would, to pick another doctor. And I know it can be uncomfortable, but courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right, even in the face of fear. And in America, we talk about being the land of the free and the home of the brave. And sometimes the price of freedom is bravery. You got to stand up. All it takes, I remember this quote, and it stuck with me since I was very young. It says, all it takes for evil to win. You don't have to recruit everybody to their side. All it takes for evil to win is for good men to do nothing. Folks, it's time to stand up. And we do that by making a difference. And we start with education. We educate. People can make their own decision, but let's get them the education. That's why we're doing this series in the first place. Now, your brain needs cholesterol. I mentioned this. Healthline 2017, look at these sources. Duke Health in 1999 started it, but we have the Protein and Cell Journal in February 2015, and that is actually a PubMed.gov article where you can go to PubMed.gov against that National Medical Library and put in PMC 4383754. PMC 4383754, or the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease with brain cholesterol metabolism. Again, PubMed.gov article. This one is PMC 4355887. PMC 4355887. And if you want to see, then this was one that actually blew me away. This is one that came out from the Texas Heart Institute Journal. Again, it's on PubMed.gov. I didn't print it up, but it was pretty amazing. I have done a post on this before, but they actually showed on statin drugs, it increased the small particle LDL. And that was a 612-person study, Texas Heart Institute Journal, and it's PMC 2929871. PMC 2929871. And I will put that in the comment, or someone else can put that in the comment for the link for that, so you can look at the studies yourself, because I want you to be informed. I want you to be equipped. But I'm going to go back to something that we talked about yesterday. And when we were talking about the mood, we actually had an evolutionary psychiatric MD that talked about, and this was Dr. Emily Deans. She talked about that our brains are adapted, and she used the word evolved, but evolved to actually function in ketosis. That's the preferred way for our brains to function. But one of the things that she mentions here is a more effective energy supply, which is your brain on ketones. That's the article, and it was written up in Psychology Today in April of 2011. But a more effective energy supply, which are ketones, makes it easier to restore membranes in the brain in their normal states after a depolarization and energy strike occurs, and means that energy is produced with fewer destructive free radicals left over. Frankly, to put it in layman's terms, ketones are a cleaner source of energy for the brain. They don't have all the oxidative damage. They don't cause the aging. They don't cause the free radicals, right? And when you have less oxidative stress, it's easier for your body to repair. Think of it this way. We're tearing down the walls slower. So wouldn't it make sense that the repair crew can catch up with it? I don't know if you've ever been in a state where they do a lot of road construction. I mean, it used to be that was almost our state motto, under construction in Utah, when there were Winter Olympics, and it seems that the main thoroughfare on there, Interstate 15, is always under construction. But what would happen? What would happen if your construction crew had half the damage to repair? Do you think they could maybe catch up a little bit faster? That's exactly what happens when you have less oxidative stress. And it's great for that. And that's why, and this is one, I want to go to the Biomed Central Cancer Journal. And again, there are names of diseases in the journals, but we are not talking about the ketogenic diet and its ability to help reverse diseases. Okay, there is a lot of research on that. What we're talking about is healthy body function. So I want to be very clear on that, right? But here in this journal, they say besides being a source of energy, ketone bodies provide substrates, building blocks for the synthesis of lipids or building the fats, such as cholesterol and myelin. Okay, now I'm going to repeat that in another word. Ketones are made when you break down fat, and it's small units, and they can get into the brain. And when it gets into the brain, in addition to using it for energy, the body can take those small units of fat and rebuild it into cholesterol. That's the myelin that goes around our nerves. You know, that thing that you can't remember, that word, that name that doesn't come to mind, or when you look at your kids and you call them by the wrong name, brain fog, memory issues, all of those kind of things can improve when we can remyelinize, when we get that myelin repaired, when we get the lining of it. Think of it this way. It's like you have an electric wire and the rubber or the plastic outside has been worn off and the wire then is frayed. It's going to short out, right? When that happens in the brain, so many things can go wrong. Just one of the least of which is actually having memory issues. That thing, you know, that thing, right? But folks, what if your body could rebuild? Our bodies are equipped with a repair mechanism, and especially when we go to sleep. So one of the worst things you do is have a bunch of carbs right before you go to bed. If you're in ketosis, if you're giving it the good fats, if you're getting it the good cholesterol, we get those ketones broken down. And there are even some products out there on the market that actually have the ketones already pre-broken down that make it easier. It's kind of like training wheels. Now, ideally, we get it from our own fat, but it's a great way to get started many times. But look at this and look at what's happening there in the body and ask yourself, what if your nerves work better? What if your brain worked better? What if your brain cells work better? And the research on this, I mean, we have the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And again, both of these are PubMed articles. One is PMC 3199865 and then PMC 3826507. And I'll put some of these in the comments section afterwards for those of you that would like to look it up on your own, to like to be able to print it up on your own. Because you can print out some of these. Some of them, you'll get the abstract. Some of them, you get the full article. But I believe in being educated. I believe in having the information at your fingertips. But you don't have to know what all the answers are if you know where the answers are. And you don't have to ever be the one that does the research if you can take advantage of the people who have done the research, right? That's the great thing. In society, we get to support each other. And that's why I fall in love with reading this research and want to bring it to you. Now, it goes on from there. Because one of the things that happens when we talk about this myelinization, when you're building cholesterol, guess what you also get to build? Yes, hormones, right? Have you ever known people that have had hormonal imbalance? I remember being actually at a natural health lecture, and the doctor there asked the audience, have any of you ever suffered from PMS? And one gentleman raised his hand, and he looked at him, sir, you suffer from PMS? He's like, well, no, I don't have it. You know, it's not that I have it. But yes, I do suffer from it, right? Well, I remember getting this advice when I was first married. They say, if mom's not happy, nobody's happy, right? And one of the things that can be an issue isn't just blood sugar, which we already talked about. It's hormonal imbalances, right? What if we could give the body the raw nutrients it needed to build its own hormones, right? And that's one of the things that the ketogenic diet does. In fact, if you look at the Journal of Physiology and Pharmacology, you look at the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, you look at this Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism, 3 different ones from 2017, 2005, 1996. They talk about the effects of the low carbohydrate ketogenic diet on metabolic and hormonal responses. See, folks, it's like an alarm's going off, right? It's like an alarm's going off, and you should say, wow, there's a real need for this. Yeah, because it's natural. Our bodies are supposed to build its own hormones. But the ketogenic diet is amazing in its wide range of support of healthy hormone levels, including male and female hormones. That's testosterone, that's estrogen, that's progesterone, as well as adrenaline, cortisol, and more. If you were on with us on when we're talking about yesterday, day 3, I actually had somebody ask this. What about thyroid? Well, thyroid requires this one little substance, a neurotransmitter called GABA. And GABA increases on the ketogenic diet. And if you want more information on that, go back to video number 3, day 3 of the 12 days of keto, because the research is just overwhelming, folks. And I'd love to give you more, but we're going to do it in bite-sized segments and understand there's so much more to come. We're just on day 4. We're going to talk about even more benefits from these articles, including brain support. We'll talk more about the hormonal support, digestive support, increased muscle tone, right? Immune support, right? And how about this one? Tips on effective keto. Wouldn't it be nice to do keto done easy instead of keto done hard? Because, sometimes, folks, it's not the energy you put into things if you're going the wrong direction. I mean, if I'm headed the wrong direction, how much speed do I need to pick up to get to where I want to go? And the answer is you'll never get to where you want to go. You got to go in the right direction. But even going in the right direction, how you go there makes a world of difference. You can walk, you could jog, you could get on a bike, you could drive, or sometimes you can fly. And when you're traveling a long distance, obviously, the faster vehicle you use, the quicker you can get there. So, folks, we want you to be effective. We want you to be efficient. And when it comes to the ketogenic diet, understand, folks, there's something that's called a transition to ketosis. It doesn't happen where you say, oh, I'm done eating all of my pasta, and 2 minutes later, I'm in ketosis. It won't happen that way. Your body typically has to run out of carbs. It's got to drop. And when those carbs start to drop there, you see is that the carbs drop here. You see the C? So does the energy. And it's when your body's running out of energy that says, maybe I ought to start breaking down some fat, right? There's a transition there. And that transition can be 1 day, it can be 3 days, it can be 15 days. And that's one of the challenges a lot of people to get into ketosis in the first place has been hard. We're going to go over you some of the tips on how to help with that transition to ketosis, to avoid the keto flu, to avoid those low blood sugar symptoms, folks. And that's what we're here for. We're here to make a difference. So the 12 days of keto help us change lives with the keto revolution. My name is Blake Graham, and I have the honor and privilege of working with keto now for a few years and working with some great doctors, and I love reviewing the research, and it's an honor and privilege of sharing it with you. One of my claims to fame is I actually helped kind of the co-formulator or developer of the very first easy-to-make, just add water, keto-friendly shake. And I fell in love with the research, and my life changed. And it's amazing to see the lives of other people change. No, keto isn't everything. But sometimes there are things you do a whole bunch of, makes a little bit of a difference. And sometimes there are things you can do a little bit of it, and it makes a world of difference. It makes a big difference. We're going to start with those high impact things when we're trying to make a difference in the lives of others. And folks, the ketogenic diet is one of those, high impact. In the end, it's all about making a difference with people. And that's what we're all about. Thank you so much for being with us on the 12 days of keto. Today was day 4. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 5. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day. Goodbye.